I've got a question, Pat, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if you can answer or not, but was Jesus a communist?
Well, Father Kevin Drew will look at that
Can't
with
wait
us.
to hear this answer.
Yeah, this is a great story, a great article. Father Kevin Drew is with us. He was ordained in 2012. He's a priest and pastor of the Diocese of Kansas City St. Joseph. Very well regarded for his preaching and evangelization, and his daily mass and homily can be found at Catholic Radio Network. Good morning, Father Kevin. How are you today?
Good morning, everyone. I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
The minute I saw this title, Father, I knew we had to get you on the air because I've had students who have said this to me. I think Jesus was a communist. So tell me, I know, why would a Catholic believe that Christ could be a communist or support communism? What is it that they get confused about?
Well, what do they hear? They hear, well, he was a nice guy and he was for the poor. And so obviously that makes him a communist. That makes him an anti-capitalist. And those aren't the facts.
Yeah.
Are they?
And it's a no. And can you share with our audience some of, because Pope Pius XI wrote about communism and a condemnation of it, and you give some great facts too in this. So can you tell us a little bit about what Pius said, and then also give us some of the facts that are so clear why Christ could never be a communist?
Well, yes. In what was that, 1937, Pope Pius XI wrote an encyclical about communism. You got to understand, the year before, 1936, in Spain, communists killed close to 7,000 priests and religious and nuns. Mm-hmm. So he mentioned that communism was a deception, skillfully concealed by the most extravagant promises. And as every error contains its element of truth, the partial truths, astutely presented according to the needs of time and place, conceal when convenient the repulsive crudity and inhumanity of communistic principles and tactics. So the idea was that communism was going to level the economic playing field and everybody would be equal, and we'd have paradise on earth. And we would say Jesus wasn't born to level the economic playing field. He wasn't born to free us from economic oppressors. He was born to free us from the oppression of sin. And so there's always going to be some inequality in the economy, right? And that's
right.
Whether you're in a capitalist society, and as we've seen in communist societies, all those communist dictators became very, very wealthy. So there was a concentration of wealth in the communist states.
You know, one of the things you bring up, Father, which I just love, is that sense. You say, Christ never called for an equal distribution of goods and services, but you talk about how there is even an unequal distribution of grace. Can you describe that for our because that was like, woo, that was a good insight.
Well, thank you. Well, heaven is not communism. That's, I think, what I mentioned, right? Everybody has this idea that everybody's just living in government housing in heaven, and that's just not true. There are unequal distributions of grace. What did Jesus say? You will get a greater reward. So in heaven, it's hard to imagine because we're with our finite minds, but
right.
Everybody has an unequal amount of grace. But the beautiful thing is people aren't envious or jealous. They're not up there saying, well, this guy was, related to somebody, so he got this position and I'm here. It's not like that. Back to communism, how can anyone be helped if everyone is poor? I think that was a question.
Yes.
To get that. I never got a job from a poor guy. Mm-hmm. Nobody did. So somebody has to have money in order to take it away. or in order to give it away, excuse me. And there's nothing wrong with that. G.K. Chesterton, who died in 1936, he promoted the idea of distributism or localism, where private property, and that's what the popes were writing about. Such Pope Leo XIII wrote about that. He was very strong on private property. A lot of people want to quote him as being this great lover of socialism. That's just not true. If you read his encyclical from 1891, what we need is private property for everybody, so they can live and they can have a family and save a little for themselves.
Right,
So,
right. And what is it, do you think, that leads us to this concept that it is our job to create a utopia here? Was that part of just the communistic movement that has infiltrated thought, or is there something else going on?
well, I think, Pat, you make a good point. I think when we turn away from God, St. Paul said, look heavenward, look, think on things of heaven, and we don't really do that, do we, too much in the West? We have the technology now. We can create heaven here on earth. Marxism is a Western invention. A lot of people don't understand that. It comes out of Germany, and it got inflicted on Eastern places like Russia and China. But
Father, one of the things I want to get to, because we're just about out of time, but I want to get to, because we were talking about unequal grace, and you even mentioned this when it comes to Holy Communion, which I thought was a great insight.
Thank you.
And can you explain that for us?
Well, thank you. I think I mentioned that everybody is equal at the rail, right? When we can come up to the communion rail, we're all equal at that point. And rich, poor, doesn't matter where you come from in the eyes of God. You're a child of God. But some people are gonna have a fuller communion than others, and that's why it's very important to prepare for Mass, to prepare for that great moment where the Holy Trinity is, when you're having communion with God Himself. So it's kind of like the faucet of grace, right? There it is.
Right.
It's turned on for you, but you can take a little drink, you can take a big drink, or it could be shut off totally. So.
Yeah, I love that. That was a great insight about how to, that if you're not really prepared to receive communion, then you're not really open to the grace. So it's not an automatic kind of thing. I love it.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Father. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Bye.
Father Kevin Drew, ordained as a priest in 2012. He's pastor in the Diocese of Kansas City, St. Joseph. You can hear his daily Mass and homily on Catholic Radio Network. And we were talking about an article called, Was Christ a Communist?